Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Fandom Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and tonight we are continuing the Essential Episodes run with Supernatural Season 12 Fight Club. What was essential? What wasn't? What did we like? What didn't we? Let's put on the gloves and duke it out. But first, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan since certainly season 3. I'm a fanfic writer, and all of my fic is on AO3 under Fire Sign 10.
Okay, Anna.
I'm Anna Kensing. I started watching in the very, very beginning, although I think I took some time off, sort of at some point, and then caught back up on it. I forget exactly when, but basically I've been here since the beginning. I do dabble in some fanfic as well on AO3 as A. Kensing, and I'm a romance author in another part of my life.
Okay, Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I have been a fan since the pilot, when it originally aired. That makes me officially older than dirt.
Electra.
Electra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and like Melissa, I've been there since the first pilot aired.
I'm Gail Martin and Morgan Bryce. I write epic fantasy and urban fantasy as Gail, and urban fantasy, male paranormal romance as Morgan, but all my modern worlds are ones where Sam and Dean could walk in and feel right at home. I've been a fan since season 11, went down the rabbit hole, haven't hit the bottom yet, hope I never do. And I also am a staff columnist for the Winchester Family Business blog. So let's talk about season 11. Let's start out with, what are your favorites?
12.
Season 12. Season 12. What are your favorites?
I got your back.
That's right. Carole, season 12.
Season 12 is a mixed bag. There were things I liked and things I didn't like. I actually, and this may be an unpopular opinion, I kind of liked the British men of letters. I liked the characters. I liked Ketch and Mick. I, of course, hated Tony Bevel because she did bad things to Sam. But I thought Ketch, Mitch, those guys Mick were interesting. I liked their whole little setup. I liked the interplay. I was kind of bored. I love Crowley, but I got a little bored with the whole Crowley Lucifer storyline. It kind of went on a little too long. The back and forth was kind of cool. I loved Lucifer as Vincenti. Rick Springfield was great. I loved that little part of the arc. And with the whole pregnancy with Kelly Klein, no reflection on the actress. I thought she did as best she could for a not really great written part. Once again, Supernatural writers, why is it so hard for you to write women? Oh my God. And then they write Dagon fine, but that's because she's not a woman, she's a demon. There's a lot of conflict about the Mary Winchester character. I'm very conflicted on that because the very beginning of season 12, I was very excited to have her there. And she came in and she rescued them from Tony Bevel. And I'm like, yeah, mama. And then she left and I wanted to smack her because I understand you don't have the little boys that you last remember, but they're here. Get to know them here. You have these wonderful, heroic men. Oh my God. And you leave because you can't. I had a very, very hard time with that. As a mother, if I missed that many years with my child and then my child is there, I'd be like, come here and let me know you now. I'm sorry I missed that, but let's go on from here. And they ripped her away. And once again, I'm like, Supernatural writers, I'm going to take a big, fat, dead fish and I'm going to smack you across the chops with it because you don't know how to write women sometimes. Anyway, there I am.
Tell us how you really feel.
That's right.
I always do.
True.
How
Can
about
I-
you, Anne? Oh yeah, jump in.
Can I make one comment on that? Just that I want to give them some credit for at least pointing out that ripping someone out of heaven might have more consequences than pulling someone out of hell. That she was happy in heaven and they pulled her out and she needed some time to adjust. And it wasn't that she didn't want to get to know the boys, it was she was trying to get her act together. And it
Yes
was a
and
lot
no.
to adjust.
Yes and no, because they were perfectly ready to give her all the space and time she needed to adjust from I'm in heaven and now here I am in the gritty world that I never expected to be in again. But she specifically says, you were this and now you're not, and I don't want to know. And I'm like, no, that's just not, adjusting
So we
to
have
plans
Mary
of existence
Winchester's
is one thing, but pushing
Mary Winchester's A+ parenting.
A+ parenting.
plus parenting. It really was.
Mary
It
Winchester's
really
A+.
was.
She started them down this path when she made the deal with Azazel to save John. She started all of this, right? She gets ripped out of heaven. Oh, boo hoo, boo hoo. You started this, Heffa. Pay your dues. Take care of your boys. And it's nothing against Samantha. She's an amazing actress. It is.
Everything they gave her, she played her heart out.
She did. But it was like, how do you, I couldn't, that meatloaf was from Piggly Wiggly. Why did they have to change the fact that Mary could cook? Mary was a nurturing mother. She was also a hunter. Well, that was going on, we find out. But why did they sent her off screen because they didn't know what to do with her. Is
Piggly
so,
Wiggly in Kansas? It's a South Carolina chain.
it's a Southern thing, yeah.
It's a Southern one. No, it's I think it's out there too. Yeah.
Is it?
I think it might be. I think it might be out in Kansas.
Yeah.
Might be.
I used
Okay.
to work at a company that did grocery store signs.
Anna, how about you? What do you think? What essential or what were favorites to you? We'll leave the essentials for later.
So yeah, I detested the British Men of Letters storyline. Oh God, I remember watching this for the first time and being like, what is going on and can it be over? Because this is just lame. I really feel like there's a lot of borrowing, perhaps is the kinder word, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, with the like Watchers Council British kind of thing. And there's a lot of like,
Yes.
it's just like, and like homage, I completely understand, but some of this felt really like recycling ideas that had been done in Buffy. The ripping somebody out of heaven, just sort of a lot of these kinds of things. So I did not like the British Men of Letters. I completely agree with you about Vince Vincente and Lucifer possessing him and that whole thing, and the discussions between Sam and Dean about Sam's affinity for for butt rock or hair rock, or whether it's legit hard rock or like, those are hilarious to me. My hands down absolute favorite episode, possibly of all time, might be the second to last episode of the season, Who We Are, because I really feel like that just did sort of that. It did what it says on the tin. It really just encapsulates who the Winchesters are and why they do what they do. And so that, like, in a season that really had some lows, that was a real high point for me. I mean, as I was sort of like going back through these episodes, there's definitely, there's bits in even the really bad episodes or even the really lame episodes that I like. And I think that is definitely due to the actors doing the best that they can with some of these storylines. I don't know, the Nephilim storyline and Lucifer, like, that was interesting. And the sort of, I've always liked this sort of religious mythology aspect of Supernatural. So that was interesting. And I always love Crowley. Like I never get tired of Crowley. I do eventually get tired of Lucifer. Like really, really, really tired of Lucifer.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And there were episodes like Lotus where I don't think the writers ever watched the rest of the series. If you can say Lucifer can't ride his vessel into the cage. Hello, Swan Song.
Right.
Yeah. And both guys have been to hell at this point and back again, but 6 weeks in solitary breaks them. Dude, in the real world, there are people with nothing special about them who spend way longer than that in solitary. And that just, didn't sit right with me, although I loved the line about, we're not out here with you, you're out here with us.
That's a wonderful line and a wonderful
Yes.
moment.
I
What
love
we
And
that.
that
have
whole
here
scene, chasing
is a
chasing
failure.
them in the woods, and what we have here is a failed communicate. Yeah, that
Yet
whole
another tie back to a great movie.
Mhm.
Yes.
I was very happy that Walt and Roy finally got killed in the raid. It was a long time coming. They just should have taken Cole with them. But we got Walt and Roy. Great line. Haven't seen you since you killed us. Only Winchester. I loved Lily Saunders as a character. If you want to know what I think of Mary Winchester, the article's on Winchester Family Business. And of course, we also got regarding Dean.
Oh, yes.
Oh, well, that's its own little perfect gem moment.
Yes.
Yes.
So any other favorite episodes that you want to call out?
Celebrating the life of Asa Fox.
Yeah.
I
Fox
really,
was really
that's
good.
the first time we really sit down and dive deep into a hunter's wake.
Mhm.
And we get to meet some of the other hunters from different places, and it really gave us some more of the mythos that Sam and Dean just don't seem to have all that many hunter friends. And
John Winchester, A+ parenting.
Well, also when you
Yeah,
start
they
the
used-
apocalypse a couple of times,
yeah,
Right, they
no one
used
wants
to,
talk
right?
to anyone.
They used to go to the roadhouse. They used to hang out with Ellen and Joe and, the various other hunters. And then you start an apocalypse, and then all of a sudden the hunters are like after you.
We don't know you
So,
anymore.
Well, and there were the issues between Ellen and Joe and them because of the thing with their dad and Ellen's husband.
Yeah.
And so they weren't welcome in all the places. But this was a place where they were welcomed.
And the drinking game on Wendigo. And the guy that you think is a fanboy of Sam's, but it turns out he's really fanboying Lucifer. Tell me what it was when Lucifer possessed you. And Sam's like,
Yeah.
dude,
Creepy.
no.
That's
Just a little too eager about this.
And that perfect moment where Dean gets back into the house, and is he Mom? No. What is he? Who is he looking for? Sam. Of course. And that was another one of those great little character touches.
I really liked Who We Are right the second to last, the one right before the end, because I loved the whole scope of them attacking the British Men of Letters headquarters. It had a real movie feel to it, with like the attack and all the things going on. And we get to see one of these episodes where Sam is just, we get a hint of it with the raid because the vampires are attacking and Sam's marshaling all the forces and stuff. And then it really comes together where we are. And he is such a dynamic leader. He's a BAMF. And he's just, it's right up there with back in Croatoan when they're clearing the warehouse and he's got everything under control. And those moments are not frequent.
Right.
And so they're really delicious when we get them. But of course, regarding Dean is just a tour de force for Jensen. When he's playing that, it's just everything heartbreaking and
And he's also just, he's just so cute until it's just too sad and your heart breaks, but he's also just so cute. And
Yeah.
and Rowena like just takes care of him, and it's just so adorable, like the two of them, the interplay between Rowena and
We see such a
Dean,
more
and then the
child-
notes
yeah.
in the trunk, and
Yep. Well, he's so much
No.
more childlike. So those rough layers and that armor that he's put up, I've been peeled away more, and we see more of that inside tender younger Dean that's so rare and is just
And then we have Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell, where they're coming back to the bunker after like 4 days straight of killing monsters. Dean's got Wraith in his hair and Siren in his teeth, and, and Sam threatens to, leave without him if he doesn't shower. And then he says that he's going to steal Sam's, he's going to use the fancy shampoo that Sam's been hiding from him. So
Well,
this is Dean,
and
this adorable childlike figure, and then also this like
Yeah.
disgusting, filthy killer dude.
yeah. Isn't this the season where he has the toothbrush? Yeah.
Well, and don't forget, in Who We Are, we also he finally gets to use the grenade launcher.
Yes.
The moment he's been
Yes.
waiting for.
Mhm.
I want to make a pitch for The Memory Remains. It was a Monster of the Week movie, Monster of the Week episode, nothing special. But then we get to the end, and for me, it's these iconic moments that tie forward or tie backwards. They're sitting at the table and they're talking about their legacy, and Dean pulls out the pocket knife and he scratches his initials on the table, slides the knife over Sam's scratching his, and overplaying that, we have them in the Impala doing the same thing. And then we know at the end, there's the table with their initials, and it's just, you can't watch this season you can't watch the show without having that moment. It's a key moment for me. So even though the episode itself was like, yeah, it's a Monster of the Week, wasn't bad, wasn't great, was just fine. That moment, brilliant.
That whole discussion of what their legacy would be,
Yeah.
before we quite knew that the end was as near as it was for real, that was just such a perfect bro moment.
Yeah.
I think this season had a lot of good ideas. The birth of the Nephilim. Crowley manages to trap Lucifer back in his Nick suit. The British men of letters trying to figure out what to do with the hunters in America and bring them to their side. And if that doesn't work well, we're just going to get rid of them. And there were just so many different ones, because there were like 3 other, and none of them were interwoven particularly well with the others. And they were all a little like, let's take all these plot lines, throw them up in the air and see where they land.
They were using the spinny wheel.
Yeah.
It just
felt like that sometimes.
And I mean, I like the British men of letters, but I didn't like the way they interplayed them particularly well. And I mean, we ended up keeping Ketch, who I wasn't particularly fond of, and they got rid of Mick right after they turned him into a reasonable human being. I would have liked to see him hang around and, be a hunter in the US.
I like Ketch better than Mick. I like Ketch much better than Mick.
I think that was part of them showing the brutality of the British letters, though, that there was no room for gray, and there was no room for anybody who would question how they did things. And that's what showed us that, because we began to care for Mick, and then he was, executed. It was, and after his whole flashback where he had to kill his best friend, and so that's what really made that sink home for us, that these people were
What
What
won me over for David Hayden Jones, though, was seeing him at a convention and finding out that his real accent is Saskatchewan. And he went to the audition for Catch doing the refined received British accent, which is the Queen's accent, in a tux channeling James Bond.
Wow.
But he sounds a lot more like Donna. Adam Fergus, Mick, is really Irish, and he sounds like Mick. So that won me over on that. One of my pet peeves in any season are forced errors, where the writers just take a lazy turn to manipulate the characters into something where if they took 2 more seconds, they could have written 2 lines or 2 sentences and gotten them there legitimately. And having Sam and Dean all the way here at season 12 wait around for the president to wake up, and Cass leaves and Crowley leaves, and they had never waited for anyone to wake up before.
No.
He's got staff for that. That was such a forced error just to manipulate them into getting caught. And they could have had them be legitimately trying to escape and still get caught, and it would have made so much more sense.
Right.
That was so out of character. It really bugged me.
Yeah, and in the beginning, in what was it, American Nightmare, the one with the psychic Magda, the psychic girl who was like, killing people with stigmata and creepiness. Again, like they were trying to sort of display this conflict between, like Mary had just at the end of the previous season abandoned them, and Dean is like being cranky and pissy, and they're like getting into this like petty fight over who the monster is. And it's just like by season 12, like they don't fight over who the monster is. They might disagree, but they're not like storming off in a snit about it, right? And yeah, Dean, like, I don't know, it's just like, it's that kind of thing that you're exactly right. Like a few extra lines, and the something to sort of smooth the transitions or the display of the conflict. It could have made it a much better, but instead it was just like, wait, who are these dudes again? What are they arguing about? Why?
Well, but we did get to see both boys in sweaters playing social work.
I do love the sweaters.
And
but then you have Dean climbing over the gate, and while we all appreciated the great view of his ass,
right.
Nonetheless, these are the boys that back in season 1 with Phantom Traveler raced up that, and I mean, what,
well, and that's
the gate.
Yeah, and that's obviously like it's a callback to that scene, right? And it's meant to show us that Dean is sort of slowing down, right? Like he's older now. He's 11 years older now, and so therefore he's no longer as spry as he used to be. And it's just
he's
like, come on,
40.
He's only 40.
Somebody wrote that
is
scene.
Really good still.
Somebody wrote that scene as fan service. They were like, we need to see more of Jensen's, but here we go.
Yeah,
we
have the sweater, and now we have the butt. Okay, we're good.
But just given the average age of, say, all the actors in the Marvel universe, to have Dean practically need a ladder to get over a fence, I'm sorry, 40 is the new 30 or something, but there's no way. The age jokes we started to get at their expense got really old really fast, because there are too many iconic actors doing action roles and professional athletes still doing great to throw that kind of crap in.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started. Liam Neeson didn't become an action hero till he was in his late 50s. And he's still doing action movies now.
And Harrison Ford. I mean, come on.
Oh, he's going to, Harrison Ford is going to do another Indiana Jones movie.
He's what?
Yeah,
75.
And these two in particular are in like fantastic shape. They're just like ridiculously buff.
Yeah.
No, the idea
yeah, those kind of things. It's an ageism thing that doesn't need to be there.
Yes.
At the least, Sam should have said something about, maybe you need to lay off the pie or something. Like something.
Right. That would have been in character and amusing, and then we would have bought it. But
except we also get like 2 or 3 episodes in the season where Dean doesn't get his pie. So
this is true.
He's cranky then.
But he is cranky.
Okay.
I did want to call out one more piece of fan service, which, while silly, was, gave me a really good giggle. In the Foundry,
Mhm.
Castiel wanders off on his own and introduces himself as Agent Beyonce.
Oh,
And then,
Yes.
Crowley comes in and says, well, I guess that makes me Agent Jay-Z. And it's just so silly. But,
Mhm.
we all have to have our rock star aliases. We do. And
and he tries so
Castiel
hard.
just
He tried
doesn't
so
get it.
hard.
Poor Castiel.
Poor Castiel. I think he introduces himself as Agent Solange and like later in the
Yeah.
season as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Yeah, he does.
So, according to Entertainment Weekly,
Ah,
the
yes.
essential episodes were Keep Calm and Carry On, where we get Mary back from the dead, Stuck in the Middle with You, which was the one directed by Richard Speight Jr. with the homage to Reservoir Dogs, the
Oh.
dynamite
The Ramiel
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
and
Right.
the repetition
Right.
with Ramiel, yeah. Ramiel, Prince of Hell, nice rhythm. All Along the Watchtower, and that's where we run into AU Bobby. And that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't understand how you don't include Who We Are in that list.
Well, they Entertainment Weekly, this was before season 15 came out, ranked the top 75 episodes that if you watched nothing else, this would give you the overview of the series. And I took exception to that and wrote 15 articles that disagreed. Because that's how I roll. And they got some of it right. I don't think you can take less than a third of a show with this many seasons and get it down to 75 key episodes. But out of that, I don't think those are necessarily the episodes I would have picked.
If you
Yeah.
don't include Lily Sunder, you run into trouble understanding exactly who the heck she is later when she solves, with 2020 hindsight, she solves Jack's problems later. And that is absolutely critical to understanding what's going on. Where did this lady and who understands Enochian magic come from? You
Well,
can't.
and
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we ran the whole angel war thing into the ground and let's have another apocalypse. But I would have loved to have seen more of the Lily Sunders kind of thing, of angels among us who are trying to be normal, trying to have a life. And there was so much unexplored there that would have been fresher than Raphael wants a do-over on the apocalypse. Some of those just kind of got, really, guys, can't you come up with something new?
I
What
would
have been
inter-
new?
so I would have, when I looked over the list of episodes and I thought, what do you really have to have? Certainly, of course, the first episode of a season, you need that because it's setting it up. Then I would have said Lotus, because the fact that Lucifer possesses the president and impregnates Kelly is a huge plot point.
You have to have that.
Also, then you also have on the other side the whole Sam, Dean, Cass, Crowley, Rowena becoming a clique in order to capture Lucifer. So those are both two major things that we need to see the setup for. So I would have said that. Stuck in the Middle with You, I totally agree with, because we need to see them dealing with the British men of letters. The cult surfaces, cults back in play. That's a big moment. I would have said The Raid, because for one thing, Dean is like, Sam, pick a side. You can't stay here in the middle. It's not going to work. We have the vampires attacking the British men of letters, and it ultimately resulting in A, the alpha vamp is dead, and B, Sam then enlists with the men of letters, which that's going to color the rest of the season. So we need to know that. And then, yes, of course, the season ender, All Along the Watchtower, but also the episode before, Who We Are. We find out definitively Mary was brainwashed, and we see them breaking the brainwash. We get this vision, this perspective into Dean's brain that we have hypothesized about for years. And
Yep.
here it is. You know, his life was devastated, not even just because he lost her, his mother, but because of the role her loss forced him into and stripped him of his childhood. You know, and that's, oh my God, that's just huge. And then, of course, leading into then the whole attack on the British men of letters. So those would have been my
Well, I think it's
plot
interesting
arcs.
that we
Right.
actually get a perspective on motherhood in this season. We have Mary,
Mhm.
who grade A parenting. We have Kelly Klein, who I liked much better on a rewatch than I did the first time through. In the rewatch, I was yelling at her for being stupid and naive, and second time through, still some of that, but the goodness came through. So
Mhm.
she was the good mom. You had Dagon, who just wanted a baby and she didn't care whose baby she took. So kind of the stalker chick.
Or how she got it.
Lily Sanders, who lost her child. You know, we had and we have Jody, who is the you know, pseudo mom. So there are a lot of mom figures in this season. You have Twigs Twine and Tasha Barnes with their mom.
Well, and Asa Fox's mother.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I would have loved to have seen more of the Barnes twins. So it's kind of interesting that this was the mom season in a way. And some were more successful at momming than others.
I do have issues with what they did with Mary's, you know, sort of mom maternally kind of thing, because like we're in season 12 now, right? We've already had a lot of that. What does hunting do to your parenting skills, right? We've had all of that with John, and then we get Mary back. And while I think it would have been really interesting to sort of explore she wasn't, you know, sort of naturally maternal. I don't have children of my own. I never wanted children. And so, you know, the idea that the only way to be a mom is to, you know, make the meatloaf from scratch and sacrifice your every, you know, sort of interest and desires and identity to your children. Like, I don't want that kind of a figure of a mom either. But I just think that they sort of swung so very far away from that in an effort to disrupt that expectation, that they just made her deeply unsympathetic and really unlikable. And it's not that simple, right? It's not that binary, right? So, you know, there are, and so yes, you're right. You're right. I hadn't really thought that this is like the season of the moms, but there's so many other ways. Like, but all the moms are either like paragons of motherhood, or, you know, like just terrible abusive abandoning moms, you know? And it's just like, but that's not how motherhood has to be. And I just don't understand why the writers have to make it this binary in so very many of the moms.
They're not very
right.
good at this.
They're not very good at this.
I need to go to remedial writing for women school.
Yeah. Well,
Hire
and-
some women.
yeah.
Hire some women. Although there are
Well,
several
they even
episodes that
got
are
a couple of
written by
women, and even the women didn't do it well. I mean,
True.
look at Buck Lemming, you know.
Buck Lemming, Meredith Glynn.
Hey.
It was interesting to see Mary not be the paragon that John and Dean had built her up to be. That was clever. But if we'd have seen more of the Mary we got in the montage right before she died earlier, we would have liked her better. We only got to see the crappy stuff. And I'm watching that montage going, where was this?
Where was that?
Why didn't we get this earlier?
Right?
We
You were
liked-
trying to word in edgewise somewhere. And Melissa, go ahead.
Mary didn't want to be a hunter. She wanted out. She didn't want to be a hunter. So when she comes back from heaven and she grabs hold of this hunter identity, and she's like, she was always a good hunter. I'm not trying to take that away from her. But when she comes back, I don't understand why the writers made the choice that the only piece of Mary that we were going to see was this badass hunter. And we were going to shut out everything else that made up Mary. Mary wanted to be a mom. What her idea of momhood was, we don't really get to see, because we only have that little tiny snippets here and there. but she didn't want to be a hunter. She wanted something else. So I don't know why we didn't get to see whatever that something else was when she came back. That's really frustrating for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree, because that was the thing, sort of all along, about how Mary wanted it. She never would have wanted this for her boys. She gave it all up at the beginning in order to marry John. She would have been very disappointed that it all turned out that way. And then she comes back, and instead of, sort of figuring out how to have a relationship with these two adult sons that she now has, she turns back to hunting. And then it's all about how badass she is about being a hunter, which, if that were what she was, right? If she really did want to, if she had wanted to be a hunter all along, then that would have been fine. But it was just really, it was just really inconsistent.
Bungled?
And bungled. Bungled is an excellent word, yes.
Yeah.
Because we had all of this stuff about how
Yeah,
she didn't want to be a hunter, and then she does want to be a hunter, and she's like the best hunter in the history of hunters, and even the British Men of Letters thinks that she's the best hunter in the history of hunters, and it's just like, these things don't fit. Did you even watch the show before you started writing this?
No, apparently not. Electra?
We have that one scene with her when Dean goes back in time where she says, I'm giving up hunting, I'm going to marry John. And we don't have a lot of her from after that, other than when they retconned her in The Life of Asa Fox to say that after she'd been married, she had rescued this kid from a werewolf. And clearly she had at least been doing a little hunting on the side, because maybe it was harder to give up than she thought it would be. Or maybe being a mom was just a little too boring. And I keep going back to the idea of Helen Mirren's character from Red. She was an assassin, and she was running a B&B in Maryland, and she was taking a little bit of wet work on the side, just to keep her hand in, because she was so very good at it. And also because she was a little bored. All she was doing was running a B&B and the flower arranging and the cooking and the occasional odd murder. No problem. And Mary apparently was still doing a little bit of hunting. So we don't know what her life was with John and the boys before she was killed by Azazel.
Now,
And maybe there was something going on there.
I have two kids with the age gap between Sam and Dean. I want to know what daycare she put them in while she went on that werewolf hunt, because I had trouble getting enough time to myself to get a haircut. And, and a werewolf hunt, you're not going to get back by 6 o'clock, so they don't charge you $1 a minute over 6 o'clock. This is an overnight thing. Her parents are dead. John's parents, we don't know what happened to John's mom. So who did she stash the boys with when she went on the werewolf hunt? This does not make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And John is a mechanic, right? And he makes a decent blue collar living, but he's not taking care of the boys while she's off hunting, because she told him that she stopped. And he's like, and she, as far as we can tell from the early seasons, is a stay-at-home mom. And so, they don't have an au pair, right?
Electra, what did you say?
Maybe Missouri liked babysitting. Maybe they had a local kid, Missouri lost her family.
They didn't even know Missouri. She would have been great.
Yeah, but maybe there was a local kid that was willing to babysit cheap. I mean, when I was a teenager, I was babysitting. But back before the internet, that's what we did.
Right. But
how did she explain to John that, hi, I'm going away for several days. I have to stash the kids somewhere. Oh, it's just girls' night out. It was
you make up an excuse. My book club is going on a trip, or my yoga class is going to go visit a guru and take a special class, or it's a research trip or something.
Melissa, you're muted.
You're muted.
What else is new? Kitty's talking, so I'm trying to keep her quiet. I don't know that, given the time frame, early 80s, Sean's a mechanic, he's a Marine. He is not, John's never been portrayed as the icon of feminism. I would find it hard to believe that John would be okay with his wife just randomly going off with the book club for several days, like maybe once, maybe even once a year. But if she was keeping her hand in hunting, I just don't know how she could have hid that.
I totally don't buy that she was hunting. I really, really, really don't. She was, picture her when she's pregnant with Dean and they're setting up the nursery and she's got the little angel. Angels are going to watch over you. She is glowing with happiness. Not just that she's pregnant, but she's out of it. She's got the life she wanted. She's married. She's out of hunting. I just don't see her running off to do all this other stuff. And yeah, then what is she doing with the kids? And there's, even if she was, then throw us a sentence or two to explain it, you know.
Right.
Like,
give us
she
that.
was hunting for Azazel because she knew that Azazel was going to come and do whatever he was going to do to Sam. So she stayed into hunting to keep her hand in it to protect Sam. They could have thrown something in
They could have,
that would have made sense.
Hunters got back in touch with her because they knew she was Samuel's daughter. Hey, let's get a hand, you know.
And she kept an ear
but
to the
she
ground.
was so, I'm sorry.
And she kept an ear to the ground because
Right,
of it.
right. But she was so happy to be out of it. And even in the pilot, when you see the scene, she doesn't think anything about the lights flickering. You know, like if she was still hunting, she'd be like, oh, the lights are flickering. What is that?
She would be getting the iron poker and the salt, right? Like, no, she wouldn't be like confusedly flicking at the shade, being like, whoa.
Out of it, so out of it for so long, it never even crosses her mind that this is like some kind of nefarious activity going on.
So
it's a total retcon, like what you said, Electra. It's a total retcon, right? And
yeah,
the pilot was written by people who hadn't seen the next 12 seasons. No, how a hunter would react. Keep that in mind too.
The 12th season is written by people who never watched the pilot.
That's a possibility too.
Any other essential episodes to the arc or anything else you want to add? Because believe it or not,
I would like to point out that no one has mentioned the werewolf episode at all. Ladies drink free, and I think it's because none of us thought it needed to be mentioned, and that's all I'm going to say.
I like Rock Never Dies because I love, once again, Vince Springfield. And we've got the cucumber water.
Yes.
And, you know, and we have beautiful Banff Sam in his leather jacket, holding the doors open for everyone to go free. And it's like, yes, that was a wonderful moment.
Both boys in leather jackets at
yes. That was a beautiful episode. That was fun. And I think I had one other one. No, I guess that was it. I think we talked about everything else for me.
Oh, there's one other comment. The John's journal plays a really big role this season because it informs Mary of what John was doing the whole time she was gone. And it comes back to the forefront after being mostly ignored the last couple of seasons when it was the thing the first couple of seasons. I know I wanted to mention that. Sorry.
Well, Mary reads the journal and she sees how terrible John was at raising the kids. And so she decides to stay and take care of Sam and Dean and let them know that they were loved.
Right? That's totally what happened, right?
And
Melissa is retconning this season.
And going back to the idea of mothers showing up, we also have Family Feud, where we have Rowena and we have Crowley's son and the whole thing about the haunted museum exhibit. So we have even more of parenting, bad parenting.
And we actually have Rowena kind of mothering Dean regarding Dean, where she's like staying with him and helping him. And, you know,
voodoo doll.
appreciating the comments for her bouncy hair and everything, but she's being very nurturing. We hadn't really seen that. You know, it was a new side of Rowena.
Well, American Nightmare was worst parenting ever.
Mhm.
Why?
I mean,
It
there's a
was.
lot of competition for worst parenting ever.
I
Yeah.
think that one takes
So
the
many-
cake.
There's
Locking
that
the kid in the
for worst.
basement and pretending she doesn't exist.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was
That's
horrible.
up there for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we have Jody showing up at Ace of Fox and kind of having a mom moment with Mary, which I think any female reads as, if you don't want them, I'll take them. Thank you very much. Biatch.
Yeah.
Jody has a
Yep.
few moments because
She
she's also
does.
there in the time. We have the time travel in this season, or am I getting my seasons confused?
You're
'Cause I
getting your
just-
seasons mixed up, I
Oh,
think.
I'm sorry.
That's-
Well, anyway,
that's-
she has a great moment at the end when she is the one to finally put the bullet in Dr. Hess's brain.
Yes. Yes.
That is
And
a
she-
wonderful moment, and she's like, you know,
Yeah.
like,
And
yeah.
she and Dean talk about chick flicks and whether or not
Yeah.
either of them is a chick flick chick. And
Yeah,
I really do love Jody and Dean.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
love their relationship. I think that
great dynamic.
Jody is a little bit more maternal when it comes to Sam, but her and Dean just really
They're
have a
more like
special-
buddies.
They're such good buddies. They
Yeah.
just appreciate each other.
And we didn't talk about the very, very, very end either.
Right.
Where-
Well, go for it. We
It
have
starts with Mary just being there. Like, oh my God, now you have mom. And it ends with, oh my God, mom is gone. And not only that, but she's been thrust into the AU with Lucifer. And setting us up for season 13 of Let's Rescue Mom.
Well, and Jack is born, Kelly dies, another mom moment. Mary gets sucked through, but we've met AU Bobby, and Cass gets stabbed. So there's a lot going on in that last episode.
Those last 10 minutes are just very big minutes.
Jam-packed.
Yes, that's a good word.
Well, folks,
And it's a very solid flavor of jam.
yes. And can I point out that Kelly is wearing the nightgown of doom?
Yes, of
Oh,
course.
right. Of course.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
I gotta do
This has been a running joke, Anna, pointing out the nightgown of doom.
No,
It's
you're
right up-
totally right.
It's right up there with the Sam's peen of death.
I mean,
Yes.
I think that's a bum role there. I mean, she's stuck not realizing that her boyfriend is the devil, but she's so wishy-washy about it when they tell her.
Mhm.
And then, you know, she finally decides, yeah, really, I guess you're right. And if I'm going to have the Antichrist, I should probably have an abortion. And then she can't. And then she realizes she has to come to terms with it. And then she tries to off herself, and that doesn't work. She just seems to just not have any good choices at all.
Kelly. Poor
Poor
Kelly.
Kelly just loses out on this. And then she finds out oh yeah, by the way, when you give birth, you're just gonna die anyway. If they told her that up front, maybe she could have had an abortion early enough to have
He
it
wouldn't
taken.
have let it happen though. Remember, he didn't even want them to do the sonogram.
Yeah.
That could have been like,
I think it would have been prevented just because this was in motion, but I would have liked to have seen Kelly come across as more rational early on. Yes, she had a big heart. Yes, that did influence Jack. But there were moments when I just wanted to slap her.
Yeah.
but think of it this way. Here's a woman who already had like low enough self-esteem and was willing to be led enough to have this secret affair with the president in the first place. So
True.
and
I'm
thought
not
he was
talking about somebody with a lot of force of character here.
yeah, and thought he was
True.
going to marry her. I mean, hello, have you met Marilyn Monroe? This doesn't work out that way.
Or Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah. Just doesn't happen that way. Well, folks, we are at the end of another wonderful hour. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back for more season 13 essential episodes, but thank you so much for being with us. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There'll be a lot more Supernatural coming up on Continual. But before we leave, let's give everybody a chance to say where you can find them online, starting with you, Electra.
I'm Electra Hammond, and everything you need to find about me can be found at untilmidnight.com.
Great. Melissa?
I can be found here on Continual Talking Supernatural, or in the Supernatural Facebook group TFWNC.
Anna?
I can be found at annakensing.com or on Instagram at annakensing.
And Carole?
I'm on Twitter as true_firesign10. All my fic is on AO3 as firesign10. And I'm also here on Facebook and Continual and the TFWNC group. So I'm everywhere.
I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com, all the rest of the social media is a variation of that. I run the Supernatural TFWNC group. I write for Winchester Family Business blog, but most of the time I'm here on Continual. So thanks again. Thanks to everybody for watching. We'll see you again soon. So we'll catch you online.